Hello! Welcome to our Introduction to CEDH learning series. The goal of this course is to teach the basics and fundamentals of CEDH or Competitive Commander. This course is for anyone who wants to dive into the competitive part of the Commander format but don't know exactly where to start. This course does assume you have an understanding of the EDH format as well as an overall understanding of Magic the Gathering as a whole. Today's lesson will cover what to expect and how to behave at your first CEDH table. The first thing we want to talk about is your approach to the gameplay. When you sit down at a CEDH table, it is the expectation of everyone at the table that you are there to win. Sure, all Magic the Gathering games require someone to win and others to lose, but EDH has a different attitude when it comes to the approach to gameplay. EDH is a social format with an implied Rule 0 and understandings of certain taboos. Things like no land destruction, stacks, or discard. It can even be construed or misconstrued to the ideas of every deck should be allowed to do its thing before the game is over. That is not the approach at a CEDH table. In fact, CEDH tables will frequently frown on users who do not take a playing to win attitude when sitting down at the table. Now, this may all sound negative, but trust me when I say it's not. We aren't grinding tournament Magic, we're playing EDH. We are just playing it at a higher level. It is quite enjoyable to play at high levels with tight gameplay, and everyone is still there to have a good time. If you take nothing else from this video or this series, please understand the following. Just because CEDH players play to win, it does not mean that they do not want to have fun. So, making sure you are playing to win is important. This actually translates into a couple of things. First, it means that your threat assessment needs to be appropriate. You don't spite play someone because they've removed or disrupted one of your game plans. Everyone is expecting optimal plays at all times. Furthermore, there is no king making in CEDH. If you are going to lose, you do not make it a point to enable someone else to win. Furthermore, you do not make otherwise suboptimal plays for the sake of furthering another player's game plan. This is generally frowned upon at a CEDH table. Another aspect to consider when playing to win is coming prepared with a deck that's ready to play at these levels. Bringing a precon that sits there and does nothing does not belong at a CEDH table. It is also important to communicate any sort of issues your deck might have when sitting down. For example, is your deck an extreme budget CEDH deck? Well, if the other players don't know this ahead of time, they might take issue with not being told that beforehand. Make sure to bring an appropriate deck to the appropriate table. Also, it is expected that you have an understanding of how your deck should work. You should understand the lines of your win con and how to execute them. Now, no one is asking you to be a super expert about every part of your deck. Players are forgiving if you're still learning. But everyone's time is valuable and no one wants to sit there for 20 minutes while you pull up and read the primer on your deck because you don't know how to win. Reading the primer as well as doing a couple of goldfishes of your deck should be okay to get you up to speed. If there is a deck you need to understand quickly, check out our other series, Up and Running. Just be sure to watch those before you sit down at the table. So, what about politics? Do politics play a role in CEDH? The answer is absolutely. Using politics is 100% okay at a CEDH table. There are many times when an otherwise suboptimal deck pulls out a win simply because of the politics. Now, does this mean making deals and breaking them, lying, treachery, or deception? Absolutely not. Those are no more welcome in CEDH than they would at regular EDH. No one wants to play with a liar. What this does mean though is that if you see a player wanting to make a play but are worried about something like your heuristic study trigger, you can negotiate that you won't draw from study if they agree to deal with the current problem. These types of negotiations in politics are perfectly okay at a CEDH table. Now that you have a general idea on the attitude when sitting down at the table, let's talk about the aspects of the game in particular. When CEDH is played, players obey the letter of the law. They enjoy sitting down and playing at this level, and players are not as likely to let you take action on things like missed triggers. It's your responsibility to maintain the board state, and May triggers can be missed without reminding other players. For example, if you have a heuristic study out and someone is storming off and you forgot to declare a trigger from heuristic study, you should not be able to go back and draw a bunch of cards. This was your trigger to remember, and it is not the responsibility of the others to remind you. This serves two purposes. First, playing things loosely caused doubt to be injected into an otherwise tight gameplay experience. If it is allowed, should other things? Where do you draw the line? You don't want to have to wade through the murkiness of what some people decide should or should not be okay. Second, This will make you a better player. When you play at these levels and make these mistakes, you are much less likely to forget them in the future when more is on the line. Casual games frequently forgive loose or sloppy play because there is no consequence to these bad behaviors. Before long, these bad behaviors become bad habits that are very hard to break. CEDH punishes sloppy play by not allowing these things to be your take-back or your do-over. This will allow you to break your bad habits and become a better player. Now, there's not much left to do but to sleeve up and go to a table. Many CEDH decks tend to be expensive, so many players double sleeve their decks. We do recommend that you do the same. Dragon Shield has all kinds of great sleeves, and they're seen as the best in the business when it comes to accessories. We highly recommend them. Dragon Shield has all kinds of great accessories to help you with sleeving up your deck, but we wanted to make special mention of two of them. First, there is the Dragon Shield Perfect Fit Sealable. These are inner sleeves that take it a step further by having an extra portion to seal your inner sleeve for extra protection. They take longer to sleeve, we won't lie, but once they are sleeved, they are perfect. They don't slide off when trying to outer sleeve your deck, and you will know with confidence that your expensive deck is well protected at a table. But what about webcam games? Setting up for a webcam game is a whole other video in and of itself, so we won't get into that here. When sleeving up for a webcam game, we do recommend Dragon Shield's anti-glare sleeves, which makes getting your lighting setup correct much easier. If you want to check out these products or any other products Dragon Shield might have, check out the links in the description below. So, you're sleeved up and ready to go, so go sit down to a table and play. In our next video, we will talk about where to play and other resources to continue your journey. What questions do you have about a CEDH game? Was there something you wanted to ask us? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.